Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or seeking to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psych Reg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as clinical psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Bernie Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back. Richard, today we're going to talk a little bit about social media and how social media may be an important way in which we're going to kind of deal with some of this stigma associated with mental health and mental illness.
Looking for the positive side of social media.
Yeah.
We tend to think of it, I tend to think of it
I
tend to think of it as being mainly negative,
yes,
having a negative influence as a parent of teenagers. Well, you are too, parent of teenagers. We tend to think of it as a negative, but perhaps there are some positives.
Right. And I think when we think about it as negatives, it's mostly as it relates to what is it keeping our kids from that they should be doing, that kind of thing. But
actually, the next talk we're planning also is about the positive. What might it provide? Yeah. And we're missing the potential positive uses or positive advantages of social media. And there are some.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this first article is entitled "Social Media is Helping Us Talk About Mental Health." Right. That's the title. And it's one of the subpages of Vice.com. Right. And it's the ID section of Vice. The
I-D.
I-D. Right. And this is located, the link is in the show notes. But this is a really interesting, very short little column that links to a much larger study.
It's a short piece, but it expands into a very large and dense.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I think that we're going to talk about somebody for the first time on our column because we've never really talked about Lady Gaga before.
Do you know about Lady Gaga?
I know that she is a singer and performer, but I also know that she has a foundation that helps. Born This Way Foundation is the name of it, right. and it's talking about some mental health stuff to work to demystify mental health.
When Lady Gaga first came on the scene, and with all these outlandish costumes and things that entertainers do, I was immediately turned off, of course, being the curmudgeon that I am.
That's true.
But then I saw an interview with Oprah Winfrey. She did a serious interview with, this is a smart woman. Yeah. Lady Gaga is a bright, well-educated woman. She's an entertainer.
Right.
But underneath, she's like Madonna. You know, Madonna went to the University of Michigan. Right. She's highly intelligent. And Lady Gaga is of the same mold. Yeah. She's really a smart, thoughtful, mindful woman. There are a number of them out there. Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn, everybody thought she was an airhead. Brilliant woman. Yeah. You know, with a similar foundation. Yeah.
So the Born This Way Foundation conducted a survey.
And that's hers, right?
Yeah, that's Lady Gaga's foundation. Right. Conducted a survey for youth and to look at the use of social media, especially as it relates to talking about mental health issues. Right. And their findings are pretty interesting.
I was fascinated by what they did. I mean, they did a huge study. So whatever, she must be funding the researchers because they did a huge study, and the results are fascinating and informative. Yeah. I mean, really immediately useful.
Yeah. So there were thousands of people who responded over across a couple states. Right. And they found that, among some other things that we'll talk about, 84% of the people surveyed, and these were 18 to 24-year-olds. Right. 84% of them said that they use social media to connect with other people, other youth who are struggling with some of the same things that they're struggling with.
That's right. So these
84%.
Right. So they are using it to access, at least if not therapy, at least information about their struggles.
Right. Okay. And they said a big majority, about 77%, said that they thought that using social media and some of these online sources was a better, easier way for them to hear about other people's stories and how other people manage things than doing it in person.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When they talk about social media, they're talking about these interactive media.
Correct.
Like Snapchat and Instagram and texting and Twitter.
Right.
They're not talking about going to Google to look something up.
Right.
Okay, and I think that's when I first read this, and as somebody who doesn't know a lot about this, I thought, this is not about going to Google to find out if you're depressed.
Right.
Or looking up WebMD or any of that. This is about interacting with other people.
Right.
Okay. Informing yourself.
Right.
Learning about your challenges by communicating with others.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is all about that kind of social interactive media, and yeah, I mean that's
84%.
Well, 84% said that they're using it to get information. 77% are using it because they feel like it's a great way to hear from other people and learn what they're doing and how they manage some of these things. 70% use them to message professionals, to even get in touch with other professionals. So I think that what this survey did was really bring to light the potential use of social media and some of these formats as a way of communicating and interacting and engaging, especially young people, as it relates to mental health issues.
That's true, because we used to do this before the rise of technology.
Right.
If something would happen, you would ask other people. You would say, "Hey, I have this. Have you ever had it?"
Right.
But you're accessing one person at a time.
Yeah.
Social media now gives you the same access, but to hundreds or even more people.
Right.
And immediate so you can ask the question and maybe get 15 responses. Okay.
Yeah, and what I think is another statistic that is just mentioned in this brief column is that only 5% of the people surveyed said that they had no one that they could go to with a difficult problem. Now, what the assumption, something that we could extrapolate from that, is that means that 95% felt as though there was someone that they could go to, and that would presumably include not just interpersonal, a parent or a loved one or something like that, but some of these people online that they could go to for support and with dealing with some of these difficult and challenging situations.
So most did have access.
Right. A huge number.
Okay.
95%.
Right.
So I really, there's a lot to be said, and I have lots of opinions as it relates to what happens when some people that are big in the media, whether they're performers or movie stars or politicians or whoever it is, who take on some of these topics, whether it's mental health or autism or whatever it is, and they take on some of these topics and they pour some focus and money into them. Some of those things I think help, but introduce issues and introduce other problems. And there's certainly been some foundations and some things that have happened where it didn't help the cause as much as it may have created some more complications. And I'm thinking about the autism, for example. Some of the movie stars and high profile people who have gotten involved in that, and then all of a sudden there's this huge push about immunizations as the cause.
That comes to mind.
We know that it's not the cause, but yet when a movie and the Flat Earth Foundation. So a couple of famous people get on that bandwagon, and all of a sudden it becomes a real thing that people talk about. This, however, I think is fantastic. I think that she is doing some really great work and really motivated to help young people dealing with some of these mental health issues.
Right. No, it's I was impressed with the quality of what they were doing, the breadth, the fact that they were going to numerous states, several states, and the information that they were providing. Right. And the numbers are pretty impressive. Yeah. The percentages are impressive. I was also impressed with some of the findings that they had, particularly the differences between what young people are saying to us and what parents think their children believe. Right. That was stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, the differences are vast. I mean,
right. And so often we as parents think that we know.
Right.
but we don't necessarily know.
Right. And one of the things that I most appreciated about this, the data that they collected, was the difference in perceptions from parents to young people. And we're talking about people 18 to 24, 25, right? For example, the question was posed, if you feel badly about your body, if you have body image problems, the young people said, 25% of the young people said they would talk to their parents about that. They would go to their parents to talk about body image issues. The parents, 66% of parents felt that their children would come to them to discuss that issue.
Right. So the question was, would the youth go talk to the parent if they are struggling with particular issues? And this particular issue was about body image. 66% of parents thought that the youth would come and talk to them about it. But only 25% of the youth said that they would.
They would.
That's a big discrepancy.
Right. And a second question was that you're having unprotected sex. Okay. Would you go to your parents, talk to your parents about having unprotected sex? 23% of young people said they would go to their parents. Over half the parents thought that their children would come to them to discuss that issue. Okay, that they were being bullied. Okay, 50% of the students said that they would talk to their parents about being bullied. 70% of the parents thought that their children would come and talk to them. Again, these are pretty large differences.
They are large differences, and it kind of goes back to the idea that as parents, we often think that the relationship that we have with our kids is such that they're going to certainly come and talk to us about it. They're certainly going to share those things with us. And the reality is that they probably won't, or a large majority of them won't. Of the ones that were asked, of the questions asked, bullying was the only one that actually reached about 50%, where 50% of the youth would talk to their parents about it.
That's right.
Of all the others, far less than half said that they would talk to their parents about it. So, again, I think it's great that we have this data to see how we could use social media in a productive, helpful way. I mean, it does raise some concerns about a few things that we can mention, but it's great that people are finding some of these resources.
Right. And, the other one that didn't make a lot of sense to me until I put it in a broader context was, would you talk to your parents about being stressed?
Yeah.
And here again, about 24% of youth said, I would go to my parents. Only 10% of the parents thought that their kids would come to them and talk about stress.
Yes, that one's flip-flop.
And again, but you see this discrepancy.
Yeah.
And if you look at the two columns, the youth, about 1 in 4. In each case, it's about 23, 24, 25%. So about 1 in 4 children
would... Because these are 18 to 24, so
I
these
keep
aren't
saying
kids.
children, but they're 18 to 24, teenagers and young adults, reported that they would go to their parents to talk about these things. And parents were way off on each of these items, okay? So what it means is that youth are going elsewhere. They're not coming to their parents. And we've talked about this before, that you don't go to your elders, you go to your peers. But at least now they have a place to go. If they're not going to go to their parents, at least they have a place to go to get information. And then they say, although they're going elsewhere, they realize that they're not always getting accurate information. And that's one of the things that bothers them.
And I think that that's important to remember, because I know that that's a concern for parents. And it's a concern for professionals, is that, who knows what these people are saying?
That's right.
And whether it's accurate information, oh, go ahead and just take your brother's medicine, it'll be fine,
I've done it, it didn't bother me.
And so we know that they're not getting necessarily getting accurate, safe information. And so that raises a bit of anxiety as it relates to the quality of recommendations and support they're getting.
And I think of all the things that that youth might encounter, with unprotected sex, the possibility of pregnancy, and you go to your peers, you just throw this stuff out there, and you're going to get information, but it's not always accurate. Okay. And so, but they understand that. There seems to be an understanding that they realize that they're not always getting accurate information. So that part, that's good.
Absolutely.
That they're at least making a judgment.
Yep, definitely. So, anything else from here?
No. No,
All right.
but I'm impressed with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Shout out to her, right?
Yeah.
That,
I do with this shout out.
not what they say?
Some say that.
You know. I learned that at cheerleading competitions. We have a shout out to somebody, some sponsor.
I'm going to choose not to respond to that.
You're not going to respond?
Except on social media. I'm going to Snapchat that later on.
Are you?
All right. That is it. What?
No, I'll ask you later.
That's it for today. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.